Okay, so this is my guide on how to make 32 panel foot bags. So these right here, this is pretty much the goal. It's what you're trying to make. This shape is I think like in geometry it's called like a truncated truncated icosahedron, which is 12 pentagons and 20 hexagons. So these are the red ones are the pentagons, and then the tan ones are the hexagons. So basically like the idea when you're making them is you're trying to attach the 12 pentagons together using the hexagons as, like, you know, glue, I guess. Like, you could think of the pentagons as brick, the hexagons are mortar, pretty much. So so first off, so what do you need? First thing you need is the fabric itself. It's a synthetic suede. I think most people who stitch these get their fabrics off this website called Fields Fabrics. I'll put the link in the description. As far as stitching, the thread, the needle, you can pretty much just use whatever. You know, my litmus test for the thread is always just, you know, if I can't break the thread with my bare hands, that's good enough. So just something strong like upholstery thread, that should work. And then needles, I don't know, just a regular needle's fine. And then there's there's filler inside the bag. So for that, you basically have a few options. It's a lot of people like sand. I never really use sand. You can use metal, like little metal balls, like ball bearings. I use these. Let's see if you can see them. These I actually got from shotgun shells. I just bought these shotgun shells at Walmart. Took them apart, and these little metal things, these little metal balls are inside, and you can pretty much. I think I bought like $5 worth of shotgun shells, and it pretty much filled this entire container. So it's not that expensive. And then also the third pretty common filler is this plastic. Let's see if you can see them. This plastic stuff. This stuff I got off eBay. I think I got like a 1 pound bag for like $7, and that was with shipping. So the plastic is the cheapest. Well, maybe the sand's probably the cheapest, but plastic's pretty cheap. The metal is a little bit more expensive, but still pretty cheap. And so yeah, so for most of my bags, like this one, I use a mixture. I usually mix the plastic and the metal. So anyway, so those are the main materials you're gonna need. You'll need some other stuff, but that's the material for the actual hacky sack itself. But you'll probably need other stuff when you actually make it. So the first thing you need are the pieces, the pentagon and the hexagons. So for that you need a template. So I put a link down in the description for the template that I use. It basically, let's see if you can see, it looks like this. However, I modified that template to look like this. This is what I use. I know a lot of people who use this template for the 32. I use this one. And it's pretty similar. The main difference is on the hexagon. I basically just extended the ends out, so it formed basically a triangle. And the reason why I did that is because you'll see the technique that I use creates something that are called bleed holes. They're like sections in the hacky sack where you can actually add or remove filler. So a lot of people like the bleed holes, some people don't. I'm not a huge fan of it, but the technique that I use just creates them. and you can see right here. So the stitching is all along the pentagon, but these little hexagon points right here, there's no thread in there. These are just left like wide open, pretty much. So, and this hacky sack was created with pieces that I made from this template. So, without the, with just the hexagons. So, again, it makes these bleed holes. With this one I actually used the triangles instead of the hexagons. So you'll see when you use the triangles instead, those bleed holes are not nearly as exposed. You can't really see it, but the hole really doesn't open at all. When I open it up, it's, that extra material in the triangle kind of closes it up, as opposed to this one where it's just like, again, it's pretty wide open. So it's kind of hard to see, but so anyway, so I got my two pieces cut out. Now here is where you're gonna need some more stuff. The thing is, you're gonna need to transfer these stencils or template or whatever. You're gonna need to transfer it to a harder surface, because it's just like flimsy paper. So what I do is I transfer mine to this poster board. It looks like that, so it's a little bit thicker. And then what also helps is having some sort of like a puffy material, because I'm going to use pins to hold these things into place on the poster board, so I can draw around it easily. So it's good to have something underneath the poster board. Like I use this packing material. You could use something like cork board. That would work. So what I do is I take two needles, and what I do is I just stick one in there and another one here. Okay, so that way it's not going anywhere. And then what I do is I use a ruler, and you just kind of trace around it. Line the ruler up with the stencil, and just kind of draw around it. So I traced around all three sides. Now what you need to do is, using something like a push pin, you're going to, this is kind of hard to explain, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to sort of poke each of these, like wherever you see one of these, here, sorry, I'm trying to look through the camera, here, you just basically poke a hole. And the reason why is because that's where your threading is going to be. You're going to use that. You're going to use these holes basically as like a guide of where to sew, which I find pretty helpful. Some people don't, but I like it. So basically you're just going to poke. This is why you need that, you need like cork board, or you need some kind of padding underneath. So it's like that. So anyway, you just sort of do that on all the sides, and there should be, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you should have 8 holes per side. So basically just looks like this. Take the needles out, take this off, and that's what it looks like. And I've actually already made it, so this is the actual stencil that I use for mine. And if you'll see on here, I wrote 35%, because on this thing, on this template, it says to print it out at 29% or less, which I found a little too small, so I just go with 35%. So then now that this is done, what you're going to do is you're going to take your pentagon, do the exact same thing. Take the two needles, stick them in there, use the ruler